Thank you. My first question is to Mr. Bork. And let me say that I understand the concern of someone who owns a house and rents it out, or someone who owns a condo or an apartment and rents it out. That is your property, and you should have some say about what goes on and what could be potentially damaging, although I completely agree with the comments that have been made about there are lots of things that can be abused within a home that would create similar conditions. One of the things we know is whenever there's a law, there's people who will break the law. And I don't know that we legislate for the extreme. We legislate for the common person. Having said that, I'm very empathetic where it is a rental situation. Where it's a homeowner situation, maybe we need to look at regulations about what's included in what you must disclose. If you have a car accident and you sell your car, you've got to disclose it. You know, and there are certain things. If you've got asbestos, you have to disclose it. So perhaps there's something there that we could look at. Similarly, I rent a condo in Ottawa. In the condo that I rent, in the contract I sign, there could be no smoking, tobacco smoking, any smoking, in the building at all or on the balcony. Other people I know live in places where cats and dogs aren't allowed. Is that a matter of regulation that provides for that, or is that a matter of the contract between the home or unit owner and the renter?
Well, one thing I can say for sure is that going forward, you'll see that clause in any sale agreement, because the purchaser, who's going to be protected by a realtor, is going to have a clause that says the seller certifies that this home was not used as a growing operation. One of the problems that you could run into with a legal limit that is this, large 4 plants, cultivated many times in a year, is that you could have damage anyway, but the person, what's their requirement to disclose if it's not really an illegal grow-op or not even classified as a grow-op? So we do get into a gray area. Also, it's easier for...
Can I just ask you to think that through just a little bit? It's legal for me to have a dog, unless in my province it's a pit bull. It is... Like we don't step in to regulate everything, but we create conditions, and contracts are one of the ways we regulate our relationships with each other. So what I'm asking, I'm actually really empathetic, and it's an interesting idea, your amendment, and I'm going to really give some consideration to it. But I'm wondering if it is necessary, because anything above 4 plants is illegal, and there are 40,000 in BC grow-ops, which are not 4 plants. There's lots of this going on now, and it is illegal, and there should be ways in which we have protection against that for homeowners renting, or for unit owners renting, or for purchasers buying a home in terms of what's going on there. Can that not be done through disclosure, contract provisions in your rental lease agreement? Does it have to be done by the government stepping in?
Well, one would hope so, that it could be done through a contract, but what I was painting was a scenario where the person who owned the home was growing 4 plants legally. Right now, there's no regulation. So all we know is it's 4 plants. It doesn't limit the size, and it doesn't limit the number of times that you can grow that, harvest it, and start growing more. So if you do that to the maximum of what's possible, and you do it in the wrong way, in a small space that's not properly ventilated, then you're not doing anything illegal, but you could be damaging the home, and therefore you could sign a contract that says, I did not operate a grow-op, but you might still be damaging the home. So then you're putting the onus on the home inspector, and home inspectors are trained to look at these things, but we're introducing risk. At the same time, I would add that the government seems very concerned about the amount of debt that people are taking on to purchase their homes, and yet at the same time we're introducing something that would potentially damage a home. And there's been all kinds of new regulation that is making it harder for, in particular, first-time home buyers to access the market, and yet we're introducing an unregulated activity which could potentially damage the home. Now, when it comes to the renter, you know, I think, again, you could have a contract, but it does open things up for legal challenges. If you're a landlord and the tenant makes the case that I'm doing something that's legal, why should I not be allowed to do it?
Having a dog?
Well, yeah, having a dog is maybe a little less dangerous, but it's the same kind of thing.
Apparently, before they banned pit bulls, it wasn't. Okay, second round, please.
Okay, sure.